My name is Robert. I'm 86 years old, and I need to tell you about the day I chose silence. Not because I was afraid, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I believed there would be more time. I've been thinking about this a lot lately, more than I should, probably. But when you get to be my age, you start going back through your life like it's a drawer you forgot to organize. And certain moments, they don't fade, they sharpen. I was married to a woman named Caroline for 43 years. We met in 1962. She worked at the library downtown. I was there looking for a book I can't even remember now. But I remember her. Dark hair pulled back, reading glasses on a chain. She had this way of tilting her head when she listened to you, like she was really hearing it, not just waiting for her turn to speak. We got married 2 years later. People always asked us what the secret was, how we stayed together so long. I used to say something clever. Something about compromise or patience or picking your battles. But that wasn't it. The truth is, we stayed together because neither of us ever said the thing that mattered most. It started small, little things you don't think about. She'd ask me how I was feeling, and I'd say, fine, even when I wasn't. I'd notice she seemed distant, distracted, and I'd convince myself it was just a phase. Work stress, the kids, life. There were moments when I could feel her pulling away, not dramatically, not in a way anyone else would notice, but I knew. I knew because I'd been with her long enough to recognize the space between us when it started to grow. One night, I think it was 1989, maybe 1990, we were sitting at the kitchen table after dinner. The kids were grown by then, moved out. It was just the two of us. She was doing a crossword puzzle. I was reading the paper. And she said, very quietly, "Do you ever think about what we wanted to be?" I looked up. I didn't understand the question at first, so I said, "What do you mean?" She didn't look at me. She just kept her eyes on the puzzle and said, "Before all this, before we became this." I should have put the paper down. I should have asked her what she meant, really asked, but I didn't. I said something like, "We're doing fine, Caroline. We've got a good life." She nodded. Then she went back to the puzzle, and I went back to the paper. I think about that moment a lot now, because that was it. That was the door, and I let it close. We kept going. Years went by. We celebrated anniversaries, took trips, spent holidays with the grandkids. From the outside, we looked exactly like what we were supposed to be. But inside, I don't know. I think we both knew we were living around something, not through it, around it. There were other moments, times when I could feel her trying. She'd start a conversation that felt heavier than usual. She'd say things like, "I've been thinking," and then trail off. And I'd wait, but not long enough. I'd fill the silence with something easy, something surface level, because I thought that's what she wanted. I thought I was protecting us. Looking back now, I realized she wasn't asking me to fix anything. She was asking me to see her, to really see her. Not as my wife, not as the mother of our children, but as Caroline, The woman who gave up things I never asked her about. The woman who had dreams she folded away so quietly I didn't even notice. In 2003, she got sick. It started as fatigue, then weight loss, then tests. Pancreatic cancer. They gave her 6 months. She lived for 4. I remember the last real conversation we had. It was late, maybe 2 in the morning. Hospice had already started coming by. I was sitting in the chair next to her, half asleep, and she said my name, Robert. I sat up. Her voice was so small. She said, "I need to tell you something." I leaned in close. I took her hand, and I waited. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Then she looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Not sadness, not fear, resignation. She squeezed my hand, and she said, "Never mind." I asked her what she meant. I told her she could tell me anything, but she just shook her head. "It's too late now," she said, and then she closed her eyes. I've spent the last 21 years trying to figure out what she was going to say. I've replayed that moment so many times I've worn it smooth, and the truth is, I'll never know. But I think I understand now what I didn't understand then. She wasn't asking me for permission to speak. She was asking if I was ready to hear her, really hear her. And I wasn't. Not because I didn't love her, but because I'd spent 43 years believing silence was safer than honesty. I think about all the times she tried, all the times she left a door open, just a crack, and I walked past it, because I thought we had time, because I thought love meant not making things harder than they needed to be, because I was afraid that if we said the real things out loud, something would break. But here's what I know now. It broke anyway. Not all at once, slowly, quietly, in all the moments we didn't speak. I didn't choose silence because I was a bad husband. I chose it because I thought it was kind. I thought I was protecting her, protecting us. But silence is not neutral. It's not nothing. Silence is a choice, and it has weight. After Caroline died, I found a journal in her nightstand. I didn't know she kept one. It wasn't much, just a small notebook, maybe 30 pages filled in. Most of it was ordinary. Grocery lists, reminders, a few lines about the grandkids. But near the end, there was an entry from 1991, 2 years after that night at the kitchen table. It said, "I don't think Robert knows who I am anymore. I'm not sure I do either, but I don't know how to tell him without it sounding like blame. So I won't. I'll just keep going. Maybe that's what love is." I read that line over and over, and I realized she'd been waiting for me, not to save her, not to fix her, just to ask, to see her struggling and say, "What's wrong? Really, tell me." But I never did, because I chose silence when it mattered most. I'm 86 years old now. I live alone. I see my kids a few times a year, the grandkids less, and every single day I think about that night. The night she said, "Never mind."
I don't know what she was going to say. Maybe it was something small. Maybe it was everything. But it doesn't matter now, because the chance to hear it is gone. And that's the part that stays with me. Not what I lost, but what I never asked for. If you're still here, thank you for listening. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Maybe because I need someone to know. Or maybe because I hope if you're living in silence right now, with someone you love, or even with yourself, you'll ask the question, before it's too late, before never mind is all that's left.